second before we get started. Thank you so much. Please make sure that you start putting your name and your organization in the chat. That would be very helpful to us. Make sure you're muted. We will start shortly. We'll just let a couple more folks join us. But again, if you would put your name and your organization in the chat, that would be very helpful. And we will begin in about 30 seconds. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing 1 second. I have a weird box in here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Joint Public Safety Training Campus Pre-Submission Conference. This is contract number PS 3056, and this is for Phase 1A, the outlot area. Thank you for coming. We have a robust agenda today. We're going to do welcome and introductions. We're going to have overview from the design and development team. We'll have a few procurement details. We'll go over some RFP highlights to make sure that everyone is in order to be successful. And we are also going to go over the evaluation criteria and go over Q&A. Please note that as we move through the agenda, if you have questions, you can make sure you can put them in the chat. You do not have to wait until the end, but you can do so as we move forward. Again, please put your name and organization as well. As far as our welcome and introductions, I do want to introduce our team. And I guess I should introduce myself. It feels like Monday, but it's Wednesday. My name is Lori Lipson. I'm the Chief of Staff of the Public Building Commission. And I'm going to turn it over to our fearless client that I saw on. We have Sean Newart from AIS who is joining us. We are partnering with them. So Sean, if you could introduce yourself.
Yes, hi, my name is, as Lori mentioned, I'm Sean Newart. I am an architect with the Department of Assets, Information, and Services, otherwise known as AIS, and I am overseeing the development of the entire campus. There are multiple parties involved, and this PBC procurement here is just a small part of that, so I am overseeing everything involved with this campus.
Thank you, Sean. And I'm going to turn it over to Ray to introduce himself and to turn it over to Beth.
Good morning. Thank you, Lori. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ray Gutteroff, Chief Development Officer at PBC. Beth?
Good morning. This is Beth Scanlon. I am Deputy Managing Architect for the PBC.
Okay. And Patty, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Patricia Montenegro, the contract officer for this project.
Okay. Well, thank you. We have other team members that will probably jump in as we have questions, but I wanted to introduce the team that will be presenting today. And we will also go through the chat a little bit later once we go through the presentation. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn it over to Ray and Beth to give a project overview and the planning and design overview for the team.
Thank you, Lori. As Lori mentioned, AIS is on the phone call with us. We couldn't be more thankful to Sean, the commissioner at AIS, the deputies at AIS, the mayor's office, and all of the stakeholders involved in this project that AIS has been managing for quite some time, as Sean stated earlier. So we're thankful and we're lucky to be part of this project, Sean. So thank you for that. If you can go to the next slide. Beth, I'm gonna let you talk through sort of the site location, boundaries, and initial elements for the project. And then as Beth and I work together to work through these slides and update everybody on this phone call with regard to the information in the RFP, the expectations for the project, and then our expectations from those respondents in terms of value that they're going to provide, that you may be providing, and how we're going to coordinate this work. And we'll work through some of the sequencing items as well as Beth walks through some of the design elements and other matters. So Beth, why don't I let you do that initially, and then Lori and Patty, Beth and I will work through together on these slides. So Beth, why don't you start with the general location and overview to give everybody a perspective of the site location and some of the parameters.
Okay, thank you, Ray. If you look at what is on your screen here, you're seeing an overview of the city of Chicago. On the left-hand side, you see the loop in the background projecting up, and the road that's on the left-hand side there runs just at the edge of our property is Chicago Avenue. So the location for the site is on the west side of the city. It straddles between West Austin as well as West Humboldt Park. And the large green area you're seeing in the middle is the actual site. You can go to the next slide. So this is an aerial view of the site before we started working on it. It looks a little different now, but we'll get into that as we're going through these slides. The site consists of what you are seeing as the green area in the middle of the view here. It is bounded on the west side with the railroad tracks just off of Cullen Avenue. And then on the east side is the CTA bus barn. That is the large white roof that you are seeing on the east side of the site. The road that you are seeing bisecting through the middle of the view here is part of the scope. That where the arrow is right now is going to become the private driveway into the restaurant area, the phase 1A site. Part of the scope is we are moving that CTA entrance exit drive to the east from where it is currently. And that is part of the program here. So some of that area that is currently shown here as CTA property is actually going to be part of our site. Next slide. This now will show you the different phases of the project as we are working through it. So you see phase 1 on the left-hand side of this site of this screen, and the site is being addressed by the current joint venture. It is the actual academy building and the associated parking lot. You will see then just to the right of that, the area that is in gray to distinguish it from the phase 1 is labeled as phase 2. This is the separate DB proposal that we have got available now, but we're not discussing that phase as part of this project. Right now, we're talking about phase 1A, which you can see is indicated on the top of your screen, and is the area that is associated with the outlots for the project. And so what we're concentrating on today is phase 1A. Next.
Give me 1 second. I have a weird message up, so I just want to try something. Bear with me, everyone. Okay.
Okay.
It came back.
It came back.
Yeah.
Okay. The phase 1A site is intended to be completing the 32-acre master plan for this campus development. It is community focused and intended to provide an anchor for the community within this entire campus. The scope is intended to include a couple of publicly available restaurants that are privately owned, as well as a community outreach area, which is the Boys and Girls Club that is going to be on this site as well. We worked with the planning department for creating the feasibility study for this phase 1A, and we are using the design excellence guidelines in terms of both sustainability standards as well as the materials and the design principles to be used for this site. As we are dealing with or working with the planning department on this, as well as AIS, there was a series of engagements that occurred with the public and specifically with local youth. That engagement resulted in what you're seeing on your screen as the recurring community values. There were themes that came up over and over again as we were going through the engagement process. Those then were incorporated into the design intents for the project. Next screen. The phase 1A site will feature, as I was saying, we've got 2 public restaurants that are going to be included. One is going to be managed by Culver's, and the other one is managed by Peaches. There will be a shared outdoor dining area between those 2 restaurants that will be available to the public. Also incorporated is a new structure that will be for the Boys and Girls Community Center. And we will have an outdoor public plaza space that is between the Boys and Girls Club and the Academy building. And then supporting that will be the parking lot behind these structures, as well as area for picking up of food and a drive-through area for Culver's. Next slide. This is what that site plan looks like. All of the material that we are presenting here is included in the feasibility study that was part of the distribution for the RFP. And so what we are doing here is just simply highlighting specific information within the RFP and the feasibility study. But all of this information is available there for you to review it further and to understand what's going on. So with this site plan, you'll see here that we have got Culver's, Peaches, and the Boys and Girls Club that are at close to the Chicago Avenue street side with the parking lot behind. One of the objectives was to keep an urban feel with this site by having the buildings be more prominent on the site and the parking behind instead of having a more suburban feel of having parking up in the front and the buildings at the back of the lot. And so this was deliberately done to address the streetscape, was to keep the buildings closer to the street level. Next slide. Okay, if you see here that the placement for the Culver's restaurant is in the east corner of the Phase 1A site. And this corner this was selected so that it would work in conjunction with the 2-lane drive-through that is along the side of the building on the east side. There is going to be a consistent vocabulary for the buildings. They are intended to work as a unit and to be sympathetic to the architectural design of the Academy building as well, so that this is actually acting and feels like an entire campus. Next slide. This is the schematic design for the Culver's restaurant. We have worked with the franchisee as well as the corporate group for Culver's in laying out this building so that they are fully aware and engaged with determining what it is that is needed for their building to have it be a successful venture. And it's a standard layout for a casual fast food restaurant in that, and it follows the standards for Culver's. But Culver's fully understands that this is a unique site and is providing the flexibility so that the design of this site reflects the community that it is in and the campus associated with it, as well as meeting the practical needs that Culver's needs to operate the business. So we've got a seating area that will be facing towards the street at the top of the picture here. And then in the middle is the service area for customers. And behind that then is the kitchen area. And behind the kitchen is the freezer and the cooler, dry goods storage. There is on the right-hand side is the drive-through connection point. And then at the back is where there will be a sheltered area for the trash and recycling collections. So that's the basic layout of the building. Like I said, this is just highlighting the information from the feasibility study. There is more information there as specifics on equipment and the various layout requirements for Culver's. Here we've got the Peaches building. Peaches is a casual sit-down restaurant that has a location in Bronzeville now. This is going to be their second location here. And they are pretty excited about coming to this area of the city and opening up this establishment here. You can see that they are located in the middle of the outlot area. They are adjoining the driveway that is Costner Avenue becoming a driveway on our property here. And again, the vocabulary here is similar to what we are having at Culver's as well as with the Boys and Girls Club and the Academy. Here is the schematic design that has been laid out for Peaches. We have worked with Chef Rom and Zen, the manager for the restaurant, in laying out these various features. One of the key elements for Peaches, when they are known for the Sunday brunch. And so that is featuring prominently in the seating area as being the facilities for the Sunday brunch. because it is a sit-down restaurant and tend to be very popular on Sunday mornings, we are building into this a waiting area for people as tables become available for that brunch. There is also, if you see number 3 next to the front door, the business model is also going to incorporate a grab and go segment so that people can order food and come in and pick it up inside the building. That's going to be part of their business model. Peaches has incorporated in a training kitchen. They are, it is part of their business to include an opportunity to train new workers in the business. And so they are looking to actually engage with members of the community as staff and have them become operate in this training kitchen. They are also looking to incorporate with the Boys and Girls Club in terms of engagement, and are looking forward to offering and interacting with the kids that are participating there in their restaurant. And part of that is there is number 15. They have set aside space specifically as a party space or as a training classroom space, is part of their design here to engage with the other restaurant and the Boys and Girls Club on the site, as well as opportunities with the community. So next slide. The Boys and Girls Club, as you can see, it is located on this site as well. This building is going to be constructed by the Boys and Girls Club directly. It is not part of the DB team for this project. There would need to be coordination with them, but this project is only intended to provide rough grading for their site, as well as if any kind of environmental barrier is required for the SRP enrollment. That is part of this project, but this construction of the actual Boys and Girls Club building will be done by them directly. And so we would need coordination, but it is not included in this project. This is the overall landscape plan for the site. As you can see, we've got various elements here. Turn to the next slide, please. And this breaks it down a little bit more as to what's included in the site work. Along Chicago Avenue at the public way, we have got development of that public way included as part of the scope. In that area, we've got the existing traffic light is going to remain there, but there is new landscaping features there. There is also a bus stop included there, and there will be a drop-off area there for deliveries. Is going to be a cutout along Chicago Avenue for deliveries is part of the scope. Then you can see number 2 on your screen is the entry into this outlot area. It's a continuation of Costner, but it is going to be a private drive. The paving materials will be changed here as a buffer for to reduce the traffic speed in here, because this is also going to be a pedestrian area. It will also right here have areas for drop off and pickup along either side for Peaches to have food dropped or picked up, and for the Boys and Girls Club to drop off children that are going to be going into the club as part of that. Behind the buildings, you can see we've got a parking lot. It will include storm management, stormwater management in that area, as well as addressing all of the landscaping for the parking lot. And the parking lot then also includes the drive-through for Culver's. The traffic flow for that is people will enter via the center driveway, come to the back of the lot, order their food on the east side, and drive up then beside the side of the Culver's building. And as part of Culver's building business model, cars then wait on the side for the food to be brought out to them. They then continue on out across the front of the site and exit back out to Chicago Avenue there. The other element here, two other elements. The first one in green on the left-hand side is a public plaza that is between the Boys and Girls Club and the Academy building. The Academy building is joining this site on that other side of the public plaza. The public plaza is at the front of the lot, and the back half of that area is a dedicated space, outdoor space for the Boys and Girls Club. Then the last element is between the two restaurants, if you see number 7 here, is the shared dining plaza. The plaza, this is open and will be available to people coming from either one of the restaurants. It will also be available if somebody is bringing a lunch, they would be able to sit there as well. There is no gates or anything on this site, but it will be a shared responsibility space between the two restaurants. Also included in that area will be some planter boxes. Peaches in particular has expressed interest in being able to grow their own produce on site and is looking forward to using this green space here to provide some of the actual food that they are serving in the restaurants. Next slide. The last feature to highlight here is the retaining wall. The site has a grade difference from the outlot area here to the phase 2 section behind it. There is a 10 to 14 foot drop between those two parcels on this site. And therefore we are putting in a retaining wall between those two sites as part of the project. The structure of the retaining wall is intended to be addressed outside of this DB proposal, but what it's going to be is simply a sheet metal wall and will need to be enhanced so that it is visually more appealing than just the bare structure of the sheet metal. And so coming up with imagery for that retaining wall is part of this scope. Okay. Right.
Excellent. Yes, excellent, Beth. Thank you very much. It's very informative. Beth, there's a lot of key points that Beth made, and before I get into the project overview here, I can't think of a project currently or in the recent past that's brought first responders together with the community, together with business owners to create this kind of campus. So it's an incredible project. It's a legacy project, and it's an incredible vision by our mayor and our aldermen to have all of these components come together on one campus so that the community and the youth in the community, the aldermen and all the stakeholders that are involved continue to feel invited, continue to feel that they're part of the project and the program. To that end, there is a reoccurring theme that Beth outlined with each and every single slide. And that reoccurring theme is the outreach, the input from the local youth, local business owners, the incredible work that Layton Design did under Beth's leadership and the commission reps' leadership and Sean and his team and all others from the mayor's office that have been working on this. There can't be anything more important that we're working on. With regard to that, we are looking for a design build team, and I've noticed and I see that a lot of our partners that have built for us, that have designed for us in various delivery methods, whether that be as a general contractor, a construction manager, or a design builder. A lot of you are on this call with us right now, and all of you have done incredible work, and all of you have been, we've worked through a lot of challenging projects together, and we've never failed to deliver with you. All of you that are on this phone call with us. I think we need to continue to maintain respect for the feasibility study because of all of the work that went into preparing the feasibility study with all of the input that came from all of the stakeholders, especially the youth. I think that's a driving factor here, this feasibility study, the outline, the input from the planning department, and so on and so forth. So having a design build team that understands that aspect of this program and the project, understands the delivery constraints and components, and can provide us with that sort of management and strict adherence to coordinating all aspects of the work, communicating timely, working as a team. Sometimes on our design build delivery projects, some teams are driven by the builder, some teams are driven by the designer. In this case, if there ever was a case to be made, this is going to be driven by both. That the designer and the builder are going to demonstrate to us that they are qualified, number one, and number two, understanding the components of the RFP that Beth outlined. Every single component has been well thought through. We have the highest level of confidence with regard to the program, the scope, the general schedule that's listed here on this slide, and how we're going to interact and coordinate our work for this outlot area with the work that Sean is managing with his other team relative to the Academy building. And then what you're going to learn on Friday, those of you that are going to attend that pre-submission meeting for the phase 2 area. So those elements are a vital part of your business decision and your strategy. Absent that, absent acknowledgement of that, in my opinion, is going to be tough, right, for anyone to demonstrate that they can provide that value, right? Absent acknowledgement of everything that Beth presented and the elements that I'm talking about right now. And that gets into this execution strategy, the overall design, permitting, and construction phasing, if it ends up being that way, how and when the packages may or may not be broken into different phases, your plan for permitting, your plan for site control, foundations, building, site prep, so on and so forth. Those are key elements of your decision-making process. There isn't a group that I see on this phone call that can't design, that can't build. And this is a little bit different than that, because there will be 3 vital projects being designed, or one is being constructed by AIS's contractor or consultant, and the other 2 are going to be managed by the PBC. But in terms of working concurrently with other designers and builders to get to a substantial completion month by quarter, as it's listed here, is going to be vital to what you're going to be submitting to us. With regard to the restaurant build out, there is a matrix included in the feasibility study. I highly encourage that all of you go back and really read every page of that study and understand the responsibilities for the build out, whether it be by the restaurants on the back end or by us and our design builder on the front end, to get it to the point that we can turn the buildings over so that Peaches and Culvers can perform their build out work. On the technical side of what we're going to be looking for, and I'll get into this enrollment of our site with the IEPA site remediation program in a minute. In addition to all of everything that we're talking about right now, it's the responders demonstrating to AIS, the city, and PBC that all of those aspects are understood, including and not limited to seasonal work, phasing work, meeting the completion requirements, understanding current supply chain and market conditions, and then advising us as to, what is the plan by way of a schedule, so that we know that you know what the requirements are. Those are some of the technical aspects of delivering the project. And then the logistics, mobilization, and safety factors, and all of those other elements that all of you already have in your possession as part of your standard operating procedures, considering we're in the middle of a pandemic, and what that means, not just from a site safety perspective and making sure that everyone on site is safe at all times, but also beyond that. The buildings aren't complicated. They're not oversized. They're sized in accordance with the program. So there isn't a builder that can't build the buildings. However, there may be a design build team that may not consider or will consider what supply chain impacts we should be worried about, so that the work as it's being phased or being delivered, there's a clear understanding as to meeting the expectations for delivering the project by the fourth quarter of 2022. We are working with AIS, Sean and his team, including AIS's Environmental Bureau. We've had close and constant communication with regard to the on-site soil conditions. As all of you know, the SRP program is a voluntary program. We are volunteering to enroll the site into the IEPA's SRP. We are working with AIS with regard to soil management prior to DB appointment. Beth alluded to rough grade elevations. Currently, the RFP indicates there is a certain volume that the DB should anticipate managing. We anticipate that as we work with AIS to refine that, to reconcile that, we will advise our DBs accordingly once we're through that process with regard to total on-site volume, initial management of on-site soil, and so on and so forth. The RFP as it is right now stands on its own, but just know that we continue to work with our partners at AIS relative to that issue. One thing that will remain constant is that we will be enrolling the site into the SRP, and with that comes the technicalities of soil remediation, management, reporting, manifest, environmental barriers, NFRs, and so on and so forth. And those are all under the DB's obligations as the RFP currently reads. Again, even as it relates to the IEPA's SRP program and a decision that was made, which we support, to enroll the site into the SRP, we have the highest level of confidence in our process and our intent. As we continue to work through that with our partners at AIS, I'm 100% certain that our procurement staff will advise the DBs accordingly. If you can go back to the previous slide really quickly. Yes, I'm sorry. Okay. So the site logistics issues, as we always do, as we've done with everybody on this phone call, we're not going to drop a building in somebody's backyard without understanding the impacts to the community, whether that be egress and ingress issues, traffic concerns relative to your deliveries and construction means and methods, ensuring that we're complying with the site cleanliness ordinance. All of you have worked with us, most of you have worked with us to develop those very specific mobilization and logistics plans. We will continue in that same effort. We will ensure that Alderman Mitz and her community are fully aware of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and when we're doing it. That'll be an important part of ensuring that the community remains informed, especially our Alderman Mitz, who's been instrumental in pushing this project as well, so that we are have a clear and concise communication plan as well. This slide lays out in block the elements that Beth had alluded to earlier with the presentation. The two restaurants, the Boys and Girls Club, that's going to be developed by others, but there is that block of the Boys and Girls Club building footprint has been identified. It's in the contract documents, and as Beth stated earlier, our design builder will be responsible for the pad only, not concrete, but the rough elevations. So we will further discuss that with AIS and ensure that the RFP information is current, and we'll update the DBs accordingly. So as it's written in the RFP, there is an anticipated overall design and construction budget in the range of $8 million to $11 million. And as it states here, that budget includes all of these elements that you see here that you typically see on our projects for the design build method delivery. All of the design and engineering, of course, all of the construction work, which includes the building, the site, soil management, any environmental issues, all the work within the public right-of-way, coordination with utilities, installation of utilities that are secondary to our work, ensuring that at a minimum we're meeting the lead requirements, commissioning as needed, the wayfinding, and so on and so forth. In addition to all of that, our design builder, we're looking for a manager, right? We're looking for a design builder that can manage and hold all the strings and make sure that we have this symphony out there working together seamlessly with an energy that can't be stopped, right? So that's that construction management services that we're looking for, and overall management of the entire process. That is the most important thing that we can do. The project isn't complicated. However, it is probably the most important thing that we're going to deliver on behalf of the city. Not saying that schools and fire stations and police stations aren't important, but the combination of what we're doing for the first responders and the community and the business owners and the training facilities that we're going to talk about on Friday, it's very unique. So that concludes what I have to say, Patty, so I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Ray. For those just joining, my name is Patricia Montenegro. I'm the contract officer for the project. I want to go into a little bit of procurement details. The documents are available on our current opportunities page at pbcchicago.com. The link is provided there at the top. The RFP document in general and fillable format is also available on our website, as well as the exhibits. The exhibits contain the link within the current opportunities page, as well as within the table of contents within the RFP document. Requests for information should be submitted to my attention at the sole point of contact at patricia.montenegro@cityofchicago.org. And also available on the current opportunities page are the 2 addendums that have been issued to date. With regards to submission requirements, we are doing it a little bit different than in previous years. We are requesting one electronic copy via email. The document must be a single searchable PDF document. Please ensure that the person who is compiling all of the data and formalizing the PDF document labels the document in this fashion here with the letters in red, and then to be emailed again to my attention at patricia.montenegro@cityofchicago.org. We are also requiring that you submit one bound original via hard copy. Please make sure, like my fancy little snippet to the side, one bound hard copy, stamped original, your firm name on the on the binding, no spiral binding, please. And let's make sure that it's organized within the tabs indicated later in the checklist. We're also requiring that the financial statements be submitted via hard copy, 3 years of financial statements marked as confidential and sealed in a separate envelope. Lori, if you would, yes. So the entire hard copy submission must be in one package. So the bound original with a separate financial packet sealed and then labeled as such with your firm name and then all of the information that you find below. It's important that that project name and contract number is identified on the package. Very, very important. And the checklist that we were referring to is the tab. I can't recall exactly what page it's listed on, but each individual item that we've requested, we've laid out, and the tab should be in this specific order. As we've mentioned, this is a two-phase design build process. We've issued the RFP. We issued it July 16th. We are currently in the middle of the conference, and submissions are due August 13th at 11 a.m. Then we have some tentative dates outlined for the phase 2 submissions, the evaluations and the interviews. And then we anticipate going to our October board. Again, sole point of contact. Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. We are going to go over a couple of the forms. I know based on our participants, some of you are the marketing people, but some of you are the actual doers. Please make sure that the people who are putting together your submissions do not miss out on some of these forms. We will not be able to evaluate them unless they are filled out properly. As Beth and Ray talked about earlier, I just wanted to put a couple of other graphics to show that not only was the community involved, students were involved for the Boys and Girls Club. We had CPS students, teachers, and other community members who worked on this project. And the one thing that they re-emphasized is that they wanted to make sure it's a reflection of the community. And so we want to make sure when we fill out our MBE and WBE forms, we want to talk about your past performance on projects and how you plan to be successful with your team. So you want to make sure that you fill in this area with your commitment and that your understanding of the project that we have in place. The other thing that I want everyone to realize is that when you put in your projects for samples, we will go back and make sure those numbers that you are providing are accurate. Typically what people do, they put in their commitment, but we're looking for your actual. So make sure when you're filling this out that we would like to know your actuals at that point in time for the project that you are providing here. You're going to give 3 project examples to include. It looks like there's some teaming that is already taking place, which I love to see. So if you are planning on becoming a joint venture, partnership, make sure you fill out that form accordingly. It is called the Form B for that. You're also going to make sure that you have your disclosure affidavit, disclosure of retained parties, and your affidavit of non-collusion, which is found in your RFP. Ray talked a little bit about this with the site logistics. We take safety very seriously, so you're going to make sure you fill out the safety information form in detail. If there are portions that you need to add extra emphasis on or explanation, there are spots for you to do so, or you can put in the box, please see attached, and provide a narrative to that as well. The most important thing on the safety information is also your NCCI rating. And we would like to know, since we are in the middle of a pandemic, and we have the Delta and Lambda variant on our heels, we would like to know your COVID-19 protocols. So please let us know. I know most of us have been working through the pandemic. We would like to know what your strategy is and what you've been doing that has been successful. Another important form would be your legal actions. These questions are a little bit different from our previous RFP, so make sure you look in detail. If you have been assessed liquidated damages, we would like to know the details. If you received a notice to cure, we would like to know the details as well. Any of these questions, you want to make sure that all the joint venture partners respond to as well. So if you're a team of 3, all 3 entities should fill out this form and attach it and provide the explanation. From the timeline that Patty detailed, we will not have time to go back and forth typically with your firm to get additional information. So please, if it asks for explanation, please attach it. You may not get another opportunity to provide that information to the evaluation team. Another form that people trip up on are references. Please do not include any PBC staff on your references. And I would make sure that your references are good references. If you put a reference, we will be contacting them. So I just want to make sure that your marketing folks are aware and they have current information, but they do not include PBC employees. If it's included, we will deem that one reference, it won't count. So you will only have 2 references, so you will be lacking when we evaluate you. So make sure you fill that out accordingly. The proposal acknowledgement form, you're going to make sure that you have all the forms that I just went over, and you're going to initial it, and you're going to make sure that you have read all the links that we have listed on our website. We don't want a situation where you say, I did not know, Lori, a year and a half from now, to say that I didn't know the requirements, I didn't understand them. You're going to acknowledge them all on this proposal acknowledgement. The other small portion, especially you want to take a look at, is the addendum. So here you would put addendum 1 that was issued here, addendum 2 that was issued yesterday. We want to make sure that you have all the information that we have released. We also want you to execute your RFP. We will have a part 2, as Patty mentioned, but we want to make sure that all the partners agree to what was submitted or your individual firm. So we want to make sure that all parties are aware of all the requirements that are had. Again, if you are a joint venture partnership, you're going to fill out the Form B. You're also going to include the joint venture agreement. And if one of those partners or all of the partners, which we would look forward to seeing, are M or WBE, you're going to include that certification letter as well. For this project, the numbers will be as a minimum, which is the floor, MBE at 30%, WBE at 6%. And please remember, this is the minimum, not the floor. For our last 2 design build projects, we've received over 60%. And the evaluation team will be looking at that closely. We will be looking to see if you're just trying to get the minimum, or are you trying to really make sure that this project is diverse as it can be. So make sure you take a look at that as well when you're demonstrating your commitment in Form A. Again, a friendly reminder, because every solicitation, we only accept city and county certification. So if you submit a certification from CMS, that will not count toward your MBE or WBE participation. So the team will be looking at that intently as well. So make sure that your marketing team is aware that we only accept city and county certification. There's one thing that is a little different from our typical PDC project. We have, of course, city residency at 50%, but we also have community hiring at 15%. The phase 1 project that AIS has started has been successful thus far, and we are confident that we can get 15% community participation. Because we're still in the pandemic, we will be pivoting a little bit from our typical community intake session. It will provide some innovation on your end and innovation on PDC's end to ensure that we get a robust list of folks to work with. We will also be working with other agencies to make sure that you have folks to look for that community hiring aspect. So make sure you look at the map here that's highlighted on the right side of your screen. These are the areas that would be considered for community hiring. So you are aware of these areas as you fill out and demonstrate your commitment to this project. The other thing that we are looking at are the Eeo commitments. It's 60% minority journey workers, 50% minority laborers, 40% minority apprentice, female journey workers 2%, female labor 1%, and female apprentice 1%. And remember, this is just based on that particular category and those hours. So you want to make sure that all team members and the design builder are aware of these requirements that are put in place at the beginning of the project. We will be using our typical tools, LCP Tracker, B2G Now. We still are looking at prevailing wage. But most importantly for this project, we will also be abiding by the project labor agreement. We will be asking for letters of good standing. Anyone that is performing work or anyone who is directing or managing work must be in alignment with the PLA. There will be no exceptions. So please make sure as you look at your team members, as you're putting everything forth, we want to make sure that you have the right information. The PLA is, I think, about 58 pages, and you can read it online, but we want to make sure that everybody is aware of that so there's no confusion. As was mentioned with our feasibility study, we have been working with our partners that are listed on the screen. None of these firms can respond to this particular RFP. That does not mean they cannot participate in the other RFP that is out for the outdoor structures, but they cannot work in any capacity on your design build team for this particular project. This is a LEED version 4 project. We will have an ITL on the project. We will be responsible for contracting with them. A sample agreement is housed on the website. You want to make sure you check your addenda regularly. We try to send out an alert as soon as we can. Please note that it's typically on our website way before the alert goes out. The materials that we have discussed today, including this video, will be posted on our website. So if you have team members that want to hear Ray's and Beth, please make sure that they watch the video tonight. I do want to go over one thing, especially for teams who are really trying to go over the finish line, is that as you can see based on the participant list in this Zoom meeting, is that everyone, as Ray discussed, is able and qualified to do this work. What will set people apart will be this evaluation criteria. And if I were part of the team, I would focus in on a couple of things that will set you apart. The most important parts of the project, as you can see, have higher numbers. You want to make sure that those project examples, that you have a minimum of 3 projects. It can't be more than 15, but one of them must be over $8 million. So make sure that you abide by that. We want to see that you have similar, or and it could be with any of the team members, similar scope, similar size. We want to look at your team. When you fill out that organizational chart, it would behoove you to put MBE and WBE so we can note how many partners that you've really looked at and starred at to make sure that you have a diverse team. You want to talk about project approach. What you can see here is number 7 is worth 15 points and number 8 is worth 15 points. So we are looking at your staff and we are looking at that MBE, WB, EEO, city residency commitment to make sure that you fully understand. And believe it or not, the one that's a sleeper is number 12. Our evaluation team members, if you are missing documentation or it's hard for them to find, they typically will drop you down to a 0. Because they cannot find the information or it's not complete. And so sometimes firms that were totally successful failed just on that one thing. So I want to make sure that everybody takes a look at that as they put their presentation together. I do want to make sure that the next step, so after we get all of these submissions, the team will shortlist between 2 and 6 firms. It won't be more than less than 2, and it won't, unless we only receive 2 or less, and it won't be more than 6. We will shortlist those firms. The next step will be for them they will receive another RFP from us, and it will include some of the things that you see on your screen. We're going to make sure that they have the objectives, the proposed services, the quality of materials, design parameters, and all of these things that you see on the screen are dictated by our act. And one of the important things we're going to talk about, the guaranteed maximum price. But again, that's only when you get to the step 2. So many people are confused. This first part of the RFP, you are not providing cost. We are trying to see your qualifications for the team, your team structure, your execution plan. Part 2, once you're shortlisted, we will do that. You will turn in your submission, and then the team will interview your team, and then we will recommend you to our board appointment that is tentatively set for our annual meeting. We will be meeting tomorrow on site at gate number 2. You can park on Kilbourne in Chicago. It's like a little bend. Gate 2 is, there's very good signage. When you get there, we will make sure that you sign a waiver and you must have on proper PPE. The joint venture partnership for phase 1 and AIS has graciously let us on their construction site. So we will be going through phase 1 at one part, so we can have a full view of what they're doing, and so you can see the logistics a little bit better. Also, you'll be able to see where their retaining wall is, the slope down, a better perspective. So we will go in this area, and then we will walk around as a team together. No one will be lost. No one will be going on equipment and going on their site. We'll be walking along Chicago, and we will enter that way so we can see that area as well. So we'll have two perspectives. We plan on leaving on time. So make sure again that you meet at gate 2 tomorrow. And this will be for phase 1A participants and phase 2. I do want to repeat that if you are submitting for phase 1A, you can also apply and put in a submission for phase 2. If you're a sub-consultant, you could be on multiple teams. You are able to date multiple people at the same time. You are not restricted to just one team. So make sure you avail yourself. And again, we are meeting tomorrow at 3 o'clock at gate number 2. You always have the opportunity to talk with an assist agency. They will be able to assist. They also have the documentation that's listed on our website as well. Patty mentioned the sole point of contact is Patty. I know everyone probably wants to reach out to Sean because he is with AIS, but we want to make sure that we are in the midst of a procurement process, and we want to make sure that we stay on top of things. And so what I want to do is I looked through the chat. I didn't see any questions, but I do want to open it up for anyone who has questions, concerns, that we can address, or anything we might not have mentioned. So make sure that you unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and we will go from there. So I will stop sharing screen so I can see if anybody.
Lori?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we did have one observation. Could you go back to the evaluation criteria sheet, please?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that we address that the first two criteria are not exactly the same. One is similar size, and then one is similar type. So,
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any questions? Who is the JV team for phase 1 that was mentioned? Are they eligible to propose? And Sean, correct me if I'm wrong. Phase 1 team is a partnership with AECOM, Berglund, GMA, BOA.
That is correct. It's technically AECOM Hunt.
AECOM Hunt, thank you. And they are eligible to participate. And let me give you a little context to that, is that we did have coordination, but all the coordination that we had is housed in that feasibility study that everyone has the information and is privy to. So we wanted to make sure that they have the same opportunity as everyone else. So the feasibility has all the pieces that we worked on collectively as a team, and they are not precluded from participating on phase 1A or phase 2. Are there any other questions? Concerns? Okay. So I want to thank everyone for participating. We again will meet. We will meet tomorrow For those interested in participating in our walkthrough, it will be for phase 1A and 2, a combined presentation. We will be leaving on time. If you are late for the first part, we as a group will be in phase 1. Once we leave, that group will be that group. Once we come back on the street, if you're late, you can join us and go to the second part of the tour. Like I said, the joint venture partner was kind enough to let us go on their construction site, so we want to be respectful of that as well. Patty?
Yes, we just had another question. Will parking be available at gate 2? I don't know if you wanted to bring up the flyer so we can show the area where they're able to park.
Yes.
But it is on the...
Yeah, I'm actually gonna pull up aerial view. So you can park all along the this side of the street. I don't know about the other side. This is where I park. You can park all along this area where my cursor is, along Chicago and along Kilbourne. And gate 2 is approximately right here with signage, and they have a new fancy banner there as well. But you can park along Kilbourne and you can park along Chicago Avenue. We're going to make sure you have on a hat, vest, and appropriate footwear. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you so much for participating in the Phase 1A Outlet Restaurant area. We look forward to your submissions. All the information will be housed on our website later on today. And again, we appreciate your attendance. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thank you.